Case 3 of the Miles Edgeworth manga series is called The Turnabout Bullet. Could you imagine what a case would be like with a bullet that physically turns about? A boomerang bullet? Officer Tompkins has a car chase with a jewel thief. The suspect grabs a hostage and enters a building with large bags of salt. A shootout occurs. A big part of the mystery is figuring out what happened when. The thief shot twice. One was a wild shot that hit a salt bag, while the other shot hit the officer in the side. The officer shot once, hitting the thief in the forehead. One of the shots was low to the ground, and it grazed a salt bag. Edgeworth arrives with his ruffly cravat. He goes over the case with Gumshoe and talks to the survivors. The hostage cries a lot. The officer can't remember what happened, but he knows he would never shoot someone. Edgeworth finds a series of clues during his investigation. One of them is that the driver's seat of the car was moved all the way up. I remember this from Encyclopedia Brown, Book 10, Case 10. It means the driver was the short hostage, not the tall victim. Since she gave the thief a ride, Edgeworth concludes she's not a hostage, she is his getaway driver, who only pretended to be a hostage. Edgeworth proves this by pointing out her coffee was in the driver's side of the car. Another clue is that the victim's gun holster has no blood on it, even though his hand is covered in blood. Clearly, it's not the case that he was shot, covered with blood, then pulled out his gun from the holster. The last clue is that one of the salt bags is actually a sugar bag. Since the salt is on top and the sugar is on bottom, that means the sugar bag was hit first. If it had been the last shot fired, as the hostage claims, then it would have landed on top of the salt. Edgeworth explains everything calmly, while Gumshoe and the hostage have large reactions to every minor point. Edgeworth claims the hostage shot the officer with the first shot. The officer was knocked unconscious. The hostage stole his gun and shot the thief with the shot that pierced the sugar bag. The third shot is the wild one that hit the salt bag. I should probably note that gunshot residue is part of the case. To fake the residue, she put the gun in someone else's hand before she fired shots 2 and 3. I find it amazing she made a perfect shot while crouched on the ground holding someone else's hand. Edgeworth wraps up his explanation by saying the hostage hid the stolen jewels and her incriminating gloves inside Gumshoe's police car. Case 4 is the Turnabout Museum. Detective Gumshoe has been asked to help with security at a museum. The museum is on a remote island which can only be accessed by a rickety bridge that will fall at any second. That seems like a terrible location for a museum. I bet nobody ever comes here. A famous painting named Officers is being displayed for the first time in 20 years. Museum owner Randolph Miller says he got a threat from a group called the Handsome Gentlemen Thieves. These incredibly handsome and kind men steal things from all over the world. Although they're on the cover, they're not in the actual story. That's a huge letdown. The end reveals the culprit made up the handsome thieves rumor as a red herring to fool the police. Too bad Edgeworth is smarter than the police. The various suspects, the other characters at the museum, include Monet, Miller's reasonably attractive niece, Max the security guard, who gives a powerful thumbs up, Bester, a comedy relief detective who brags he's the best in the world while jumping to silly conclusions. After a brief power outage, everybody goes to a different spot for a stakeout. After an hour, the power goes out again. The security guard calls Gumshoe, but he doesn't say anything. Miller says he'll check the painting while Gumshoe circles around the outside of the museum. This only takes a minute, but forcing Gumshoe to go all the way around the island sure makes it seem like he's getting rid of Gumshoe on purpose. When Gumshoe returns, the exhibit room is locked. Gumshoe breaks open the door. Max is dead, lying next to an empty painting frame. Bester thinks he caught the handsome thieves, but he's wrong. It's Edgeworth. He's not a thief, but he is handsome. Edgeworth asks, "What the hell is going on?" Edgeworth swearing? The question is how the culprit managed to do so many things in a short period of time, just 1 minute. The other question is how the culprit escaped through a locked door, but this is never taken too seriously. I get the sense that in the game, this point would have been debated and stretched out a lot more. It's discovered the culprit used a timer to cause the blackouts. A large bloody cloth is found. Edgeworth solves the case when he learns the victim called Gumshoe without saying anything. Edgeworth's read enough mysteries to know that call was clearly a fake. The culprit wanted to mislead people about the real time of death. The real death happened much earlier, shortly after the first blackout. This helps explain how the culprit managed to do so much in a short time. They did everything across 2 blackouts instead of doing all of it during the 1 blackout. Edgeworth double-checks the security footage of the guard. After the first blackout, he no longer has a shadow and his watch doesn't droop. Conclusion, he is not standing against the wall. He is lying on the floor, dead. Specifically, he's lying on the sheet. It's a very, very long sheet that goes underneath the door. That way, the culprit was able to move the corpse from outside the room by yanking the sheet through the bottom of the door. Edgeworth accuses Miller, who was alone at the crime scene when Gumshoe ran around the building. I'm a little surprised nobody realized that sooner. In a further twist, Edgeworth correctly guesses that Miller sold the real painting years ago. The one he put on display is a fake. It's not even a forgery, it's a poster of the real painting. Miller committed murder to keep this secret. In another twist at the end, it's revealed that Edgeworth's friend, who I forgot to mention earlier, was really one of the handsome gentlemen in disguise. He was amused by the whole case. The end. Post-book follow-up. I'm not sure which case was better. The second case had more suspects, which is good. The first case felt more like something you'd see in the game, with the way the characters go through the order of the shots multiple times, adjusting for new evidence each time. The book has a lot of Detective Gumshoe in it, especially since Edgeworth doesn't arrive until halfway through the second case. The book might have worked better with Kay Faraday as Edgeworth's partner, since thievery is her thing and they're both thievery cases. Neither case is exactly like the game. If they were to adapt one of the cases, they would make some changes. The characters would probably be more fleshed out instead of being limited to one personality trait. That goes double for Edgeworth and Gumshoe. I give Miles Edgeworth Ace Attorney Investigations 2 a 7 out of 10.